2 months. That's how long I've been running. The thing that's been hunting me ever since I found out what it was. I must warn you of the being before you fall under its spell. If you hear it, run and leave the area before he chooses you as a target. September 27, 2008, 9:15. My name is Gwendolyn Mace. I'm the head of Ravenwood Police Department. I've always loved my job and the respect that comes with it. In the town of Ravenwood has always been a quiet one. It's a population of around 1,000 and there's very little crime or things of the such. The worst crime in this town was last year when a teenage boy vandalized a church. In this town, if something happens on the west end, everyone on the east end would know by the next day. Word gets around quickly, so very few people start talking about something like giant birds or big shadows going around in the night sky. I reached my ears fairly quickly. Almost everyone was at least a little scared by the shadow. If they weren't, then they were people who hunted in the woods in the surrounding town. I heard about this thing from a caring old lady I visited almost every day. She was talking with her friend when she saw me and called me over. She then asked if I knew anything about the thing that's been flying around. I didn't know anything about it, and she started explaining. While she was walking her little dog at night near the woods, she saw a shadow cross the ground where she was walking. She then looked up to the sky to see what it was, according to what she saw, a thing with wings like a bird, but it was so much bigger. She told me that it was 30 to 35 feet wide, but wasn't too long, maybe around 6 to 7 feet. I listened in horror. The old woman, as she the best in the head, meaning that she's seen things before. I told her that it was probably just a migratory bird. Since it's autumn, there were several different species of bird that stopped by the town to take a break. She and I talked for a few more minutes about this, and then I got a call from an officer. When I answered it, it was one of the officers that went on patrol and asked me to come to the northern end of town near the woods. As he said he would fill me in when I got there. I said goodbye to the old woman. I got in my squad car and started heading towards the area. When I got there, I saw the last thing I wanted to see. 3 other squad cars and a small crowd in the area. In front of the cars was tape. There were 4 officers with the tape off area, which was about 30 feet from the tree line. 2 officers outside trying to get the crowd to disperse. The officer that had called me started to jog over and lead me under the tape. I asked what happened, and when he pointed to the other 4 officers were looking, the officer said the woman's friend is the one who called, crying and begging for them to come and help. That giant bird had killed her friend. I walked forward and knelt down to investigate. It was a dead woman around the age of 25 or so, long brown hair, and she was sprawled on the ground with her neck and her back spread eagle, and the skin was pasty pale. Her eyes rolled back in her head, sunk into the sockets. The weird thing was that I saw she was not cut, had no bruising, and there was not a sign of a struggle. She looked like her life literally was just literally gone. Like it was sucked out of her. I looked around the area and saw something that seemed to shine in the light. I got up and went to what was a camera. It was facing the woman, and it was still recording. I figured that the video from it might have some evidence, so I kept it to watch it later. After the area was cleaned up, I went back to the PD and went to my office and reviewed the video. September 27th, 2008, 14:45. It was a normal average recording. It was late at night, maybe early in the morning before light. She was speaking with her friend, having fun, and talking about a friend's party they were coming from. They got in the area in front of the woods, and then the woman stepped and looked towards them. The camera, her face in camera view. At this time, there was faint static on the video. She asked her friend if she could hear that. Her friend looked at her confusingly before replying that she did not. The woman then started walking towards the woods, camera facing in front of her. She kept walking towards the thickening bush and then stopped. It was quiet for a few seconds, and then a rustle, the static appearing again. The camera quickly turned upwards as something came down, knocking the camera from her hand, it landing in the position I found it in. All I could see after it settled was the woman's dead body. Her friend screamed, and there was a sound of flapping or footsteps. I could deduce the footsteps were from her friend. The flapping had to be from whatever it was attacked the poor woman. I paused the video and thought, and then realized the old woman I had talked to earlier today told me about a bird thing. I put the information together, the flapping, a big shadow. It had to be some kind of bird, but there's no birds in existence that had a wingspan of 30 feet. I had to get more information. I continued to review the video, slowing down the video to get a better look at the blur. After reviewing part of the video several times, I realized there were two dots that stood out, red dots. I looked closer and reviewed it. Every few times, I realized that those dots were its eyes. It unnerved me to say at least. Bright red eyes on a pure black blur from a video recording seemed something out of a story. Even as I packed up and left the PD, I couldn't get it out of my head. The picture stayed in my mind as I tried to deduce what it could be. I couldn't come up with anything. I decided to sleep on it. So, deducing that I had looked up and left. September 29, 2008, 22:35. It was late at night. I was taking a walk to relieve myself from the stress of the murders that had brought about. I couldn't think of who or what could have done it. The way she looked after she was gone wasn't natural. There was no brushing it off, even after death. But she was killed almost instantly. How could that happen without there being any wound? I thought I would never know. It wasn't a heart attack. I've seen how people look after death from a heart attack. That wasn't it. I looked towards the woods and saw a figure. First thing that crossed my mind is how tall that thing was. It was about 6'11", maybe 7 feet tall. It looked like a man. So I spoke out and asked him what he was doing out so late. I was greeted with silence. I asked louder, thinking he couldn't hear me. Then I heard a song. It was like a person singing, but I couldn't find where it was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from everywhere, like it was just in my head. I looked towards the figure, and I could feel myself slipping from consciousness. All I could focus on was the song. It was beautiful. Sounded like like 1,000 voices in perfect harmony and sync. It seemed like it was coming from the figure. I wanted to hear more, so I moved towards it. I got closer and saw something sticking out from the person's back. When I saw there were 2 wings, one on each side, I came out of my trance-like state and then realized that they were wings. My eyes opened and I took a step back. The song stopped. The thing moved. It looked like it was taking large breath. Only a few seconds later, I heard an extremely loud screech that nearly knocked me from consciousness. The sound was deafening. I couldn't stand up straight. I wasn't fully out though. I couldn't move, but I could hear and see. And even if there was a ringing in my ears and my vision was blurry, I was being start walking. I saw the being start walking towards me. It looked like a young man around 19 to 20. He had jet black hair and red eyes. I saw that he was wearing black combat boots, dark pants, and a black turtleneck. And then I saw my assumption was correct. He had wings. They matched his hair and what he was wearing, pure black. I thought I was a goner. Then I heard a shout and the boy turned. Bark shot from the tree near his head. I saw that happen before I heard the banging. As soon as the boy realized that he was being shot at, which was quickly, the wings unfolded. The wingspan was 35 feet. He went about 20 feet in the air, looked down at me, smiled at me. I wasn't scared, but I was October 14th, 2008, 12:25. I woke up in the hospital, which was another town over. I had bandages over my ear and head. A doctor came in and introduced himself. He told me I had been asleep for about 2 weeks and that my inner ear on my right ear was completely destroyed. This is how I'm putting it. I could not hear out of my right ear, and that was the explanation. He said the damage caused to my ear comes from extremely high and loud noise, maybe close to the equivalent of standing next to a jet engine as it's taking off, but no one in town heard it except for me. I withheld the information about the winged man and let myself fall into relaxation at the hospital. I turned my head and saw him through the window. I nearly screamed. He was on the roof of the building across the street at the hospital. I could see him and his wings clearly. I was terrified of this thing I had been forced within. Then I began to realize something. He was singing a song and I couldn't help myself from listening. And I felt that feeling. He was trying to draw me in, to eat me, my soul. That's how he killed the woman, and why he eats them. He dines on human souls. I heard of beings like this. They are called Sirens. They have wings like birds and heads like humans. They sing songs and lead people. And after that, no one knows. I do. I will not give in. I won't listen. 2 months after this, I'm hearing it. The song. The one I heard from that boy. It was playing in my head. And I have seen him several times. He's always near me. Even if I can't see him, he really takes his eye. He never takes his eyes off me. I know what he wants. He wants me to succumb. He wants me to listen to the siren song. The siren is here.